Hey, Chad. Hey.
Hey.
Hey, it's time to root for the bad guys as we look at movies and TV characters we hate to love.
Yeah, like bad guys are more fun because they're more complex. There's more layers.
I always think of Gary Oldman because he plays a lot of bad guys really well. And whenever he's interviewed, they always ask him, do you like playing the bad guy? And he always says yes, because they say it's more fun. It's like the bad guy is he's not beholden to any set rules that you would expect a good guy to behave a certain way. But a bad guy is almost like a kind of roll the dice in the plot where it's unpredictable.
I think that there's not a lot for the good guy. Like if you're going to play roles, like I know that Dwayne Johnson, when he was going to do Black Adam, he was originally asked to be Shazam. And he was like, yeah. And maybe because he's just tired of doing that role, I'm always the good guy.
Right.
And he decided he wanted to mix it up a little bit because there's a more interesting story. But my son, he loves the bad guys. And so I'm always trying to figure out things to get him. And it's always bad guy related. He was never interested in the Jedis. He just didn't want the good guys. It was all stormtroopers. He has I swear he has 36 stormtroopers on a shelf and nothing in there that it was a good guy. Vader's the man. He's just the guy doing his job.
That's, I always thought Vader was really just upper management person who's just really trying to get shit done. Like he's surrounded by all these technocrats that are all beholden to their tech. But he has a simpler outlook. He's just a spiritual guy that has faith in the ways of the Force, right?
Yeah. Well, he just at one point decided, people are stupid and they need a little guidance.
Right.
So we're not throwing them in jail mostly, and we're not killing them mostly, but we're going to create order in the galaxy.
Yeah, that's right. That's what the Empire is really all about. That's what they keep saying, is that they want to bring order.
Well, and I think that a lot of people, in our world often follow that, they trade off morality and ethics because they think, well, the bad guy often will make things better for us and we'll tolerate it a little bit and ultimately will be the better choice. Look, how many people drive Volkswagens? How many people drive BMWs? They have a very colorful past.
Yeah.
Volkswagen was
Hitler pretty much designed it on a napkin or something.
Yeah, it's his brainchild, but look how many people drive Jettas, right?
Yeah.
It's
Or even when you go up an elevator, it's made by the Otis Corporation. Those are the guys that made the showers for the fucking concentration camps, right? Yeah. And IBM helped make marching Jews into the ovens efficient.
Yeah,
right?
Mercedes, that logo is a fan, and they made fans. It was a propeller, but they made fans for the gas chambers.
Right.
BMW made the jets that are the bombers that attacked Europe.
That would spin us off in a whole other topic of whether capitalism.
But people like to trade. Well, and then there's Trump. It's like, look at the people that support that guy. Yeah. It's like, because they think his badness is strong.
Right.
And he's just a jackass.
Yeah. It just doesn't take any opinions. Right.
And so Star Wars doesn't show that Vader, they don't show the people who support him. And often they're not altruistic. Sometimes they are, like the Thanos kind of model where he believes he has a mission.
That's a great example too, right? Like he's sure he's going to wipe out half of everybody in the universe, but he seems to have good motivations, right? Like he knows resources are finite. So unfortunately he decides not to double the resources, but he halves the consumers of those resources, which I think is a little questionable.
Well, I also I don't agree with his randomness, right? Like if you really have if you really believe in something.
Yeah.
Okay. I really believe in something. I have the Thanos glove. Okay. I have the Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah. I'm going to pick off the people that deserve to go.
Right.
I'm not going to just work through. I'm going to try to create what I think is the perfect world.
Right. Well, just follow the words of the bard, and first you kill all the lawyers. right? Not half of them, all of them.
My son, besides Stormtroopers, right now he's watching Breaking Bad. So he's like, he's wrapping up. He just finished the 4th season of Breaking Bad. He's just going crazy.
Yeah.
And who's his favorite in season 4? Gus. Gus is like, which is like the bad guy that Walter White and Jesse Pinkman, have to do business with.
Or even Walter White and Jesse, they're fucking making meth, right?
Yeah.
That shit gets into people's hands, kids' hands, right? It's ruining lives, but you still sympathize with him. He's just a science teacher that's got cancer and he's trying to pay for his treatment.
He's trying to help his family. He's trying to leave his legacy.
Yeah, exactly. And he's by making meth.
That's right.
Blue meth. Good old Heisenberg.
And this is like, it's that world of gangsters, right? Like I stopped watching gangster movies because gangsters are, we glamorize them. They're criminals. They're killers.
Yeah.
They're portrayed as, it's all about family. And I have a family, but we don't have people killed, and we don't have,
at least you don't admit it.
Well, not officially. Not to be let anybody film. But it's sort of like I stopped watching gangster movies because gangster movies they suck you in, and you're like, you feel all full, right? Yeah. And raring to go, because somehow those movies they make you feel like a tough guy while you're watching them, which is why like movies like Scarface are on the wall of every rapper's crib. Like in Game of Thrones, Cersei was just she was so evil.
She's a mother evilly protecting her son, who himself is evil, right? The original whatever the guy that was poisoned, Joffrey, who would he would shoot crossbows at whores.
Yeah. and he dressed and looked like a young David Bowie.
Yeah, exactly. David Bowie meets Malfoy.
Like David Bowie's Love It Till Tuesday, right? It's like, I love you till I kill you with a crossbow. He's a bad guy that I didn't like, though.
No, really, just rooting for his death.
But because he's also, in spite of the fact that he looks cool like Bowie, he was kind of like Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker, right? So he's just kind of aggravating all the way through.
Yeah. The thing is that it's an interesting dichotomy, because he's annoying because he's doing such bad things and he's just an asshole, right? Yeah. Hayden Christensen is supposed to be like, so good, and then he turns. But the guy, Hayden Christensen, he just couldn't pull that off. That's a fucking, you got to walk a line. It's a huge arc, like an amazing character arc. And he couldn't sell it. And then he has no backup from Lucas as a writer, just writing shit. Well,
and the truth is that he went bad for lame reasons, right? Like he just kind of it was so reactionary. Like, no,
yeah, someone just tells him something. Someone just tells him something, and he just fucking buys it.
That's right.
He wants to be on the Jedi Council. Like, I mean, he might be a moron like all those other Jedis. I guess he might have fit in, but so stupid. Quit bringing up the prequels. I'll stop bringing up Ready Player One, and you stop bringing up the fucking prequels. All right.
Don't pick a fight, Bill.
That's not good. I thought you were a good guy, Chad, not a bad guy. One thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to bad guys, and we were talking about, we always use Rob Zombie as a whipping boy because he redid the Halloween and decided to explain why Mike Myers was such a scumbag.
Oh, behave. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Such a murderer.
Poor Michael Myers.
But one movie recently that kind of did that and worked was The Joker, the sort of non-canonical telling of the Joker story from Batman. And what they did was, they totally built the whole thing around the Joker, where he's got the reason why he's, evil and, laughing at evil is it's an actual medical condition that he has, where he laughs crazily at the most inopportune situations.
Yeah, like a
and
Tourette's.
everyone does. Yeah, exactly. Kind of like Tourette's, and everyone doesn't understand it. And he's just made a pariah, right? And and that, talking about Hayden Christensen as sort of an actor that can't rise up to the occasion. Joaquin Phoenix he totally sells that. It could be so annoying, like, oh yeah, you need to explain why the Joker is the Joker. Again, he should just be a random element on the field. But what they did in the Joker was amazing. Like, just totally explain it in a way where you sympathize with him. It's a bad guy you're loving to hate because they explain it so well. What's wrong with him?
So in comic books, they often say, if you have a superhero, it's going to be natural that a supervillain will arrive, right? Because you just always need that balance. And it seems that the Joker does things not for self gain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he doesn't rob a bank so he has money.
Right.
He might rob a bank so he has money, so he can do something so that he can somehow connect with Batman, because he's always kind of, he wants a friend.
What's that great scene, the interrogation scene in The Dark Knight or whatever?
Yeah.
Where Batman's got him in the interrogation room and he's like, why do you want to kill me? Joker's like, I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? You complete me, right? It's like an amazing scene because it shows just exactly what you're talking about. They need each other. I wanted to also point out that when it comes to making shows, TV shows and movies around distasteful characters, there's no better champions than the British, which might say something.
They are awful.
Might say something about the British mentality, as they make so many distasteful people that become hugely popular characters. Like, I always think of, in my opinion, maybe the best British television show ever made is Fawlty Towers, right? All built around John Cleese's character of Basil Fawlty running a Torquay hotel, and he's just the fucking worst guy. He's horrible to the guests. He does a lot of stupid things. He's super conceited. The stupid things he does, he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. But he's dumb. But John Cleese is just, all in Monty Python were like that. They'd make characters of authority and then they just deconstruct them.
Mm-hmm.
But Fawlty Towers, man, that's a classic. You just despise Fawlty, but then you sort of sympathize with him too, because he's got kind of a shrewish wife and he's got this incompetent helper with Manuel. He's surrounded by people that he can hate, and then you agree with him, but then again, he's a character that's just not nice.
I watched The Office. I'm a big fan of The Office.
Right. Another one, yeah.
I had watched the British one for first, and then I started to watch the American, couldn't do it because it was just so cheesy and cornball. But I left a couple of years, and then I crazily just binge watched the whole series. But that lead, the Steve Carell character and the Ricky Gervais character, which David Brent, I guess, is the Gervais name.
That's right.
Michael
Scott
in the American one.
Yeah.
And they're just so horrible. Like, Steve Carell is he's so likable and so hateable at the same time. And I don't know if it's sometimes he's saying the things you think, and it makes him relatable because he has no filter. But I find that it's like it's just so cringeworthy all the way through. And maybe this is something, like you say, like the British are good at this because they recognize that there's complexity in darkness and in humor.
Mm-hmm.
And they've managed to do something, whereas the American market is just like, here's funny, and they just throw it at you, right?
Yeah, they're so convinced that it's funny, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of the death of comedy. Another interesting show that translated was they had a show in Britain called Till Death Us Do Part. And it was about this guy, this character, Alf Garnett, who's just the head of this household. And he's a bigot and a racist and an anti-Semite. And then they translated that in America to All in the Family. And Alf Garnett is the blueprint for Archie Bunker. Right. But then, and in the realm of American television, All in the Family, the show they built him around, at its time was very controversial, right? Because Archie Bunker was sort of saying the same things, only he wouldn't use the direct language when he's talking about black people. He'd say those people, right? And even that is like, a terribly racist thing, but it didn't have quite the cutting, directness of the original character. But, Archie Bunker became, and All in the Family became a huge hit, and all around a guy who was super unlikable. And the funny thing is, and in Britain, this happened too with Alf Garnett. Was, he was made as a satire to show how stupid people are who have these views, and then they're venerated by the conservatives and right wing. They agree with what they're saying, so it's undercuts what the producers are trying to do, which is make fun of it. It's actually revered by some people. And I used to think, oh, we're past that, but just in the last 5 years, it's all come back again.
So the last guy that I would refer to is Dexter, because Dexter is a homicidal maniac who kills people terribly, chops their bodies up and disposes of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the hero of the show. He's the protagonist. We follow him. We don't want him to get caught. He's a nice guy. We want him to be happy. We want him to have a nice relationship. It's okay that he kills all these people because it was his adopted father recognized in him that he was a psychopath. So they decided, well, let's embrace that. And we're going to teach you a code that you will kill only bad people.
Yeah, they did a great job, cutting between Dexter and what he's doing and how he came to be. Again, often the death of a character, trying to explain it. But, he was a psychopath as a child, and his father could see that he really doesn't have any empathy for living things.
Mm-hmm.
And just he, as best as a father can do of a obvious functioning psychopath, is just, you have to teach your kid when to take a life and when not. Like, you might not value the life, but you have to value your process of how you figure this out, and you have to figure out the right way. So what's going on right now is they're having the Black Adam movie, and he's like the bad version of Captain Marvel.
Yeah, well, kind of like DC does this. Like they had in Green Lantern, you have like the Red Lantern guy.
Mm-hmm. With the red light.
Yeah,
you don't have to turn on the red light.
And he has a ring that has because the Green Lantern, his weakness is yellow, color yellow, right?
So when he pees, he just faints.
That's right. It's like, I should have looked at the toilet.
Yeah.
So then I can't remember his name. The guy at the Widow's Peak. He has a ring that has the yellow light. So
Sinister or something.
Sinestro. It's Sinestro. Right. So Black Adam is kind of the counterpart, except this is a perfect example of DC trying something different.
Dwayne Johnson's going to play him as kind of an anti-hero.
Yeah, well, the character is kind of an anti-hero because he just feels that he was done wrong. But much like Thanos, with these powers, he believes he should rule the world for the betterment, right?
Right.
So he has an idea of what's good, but he's willing to make the decisions for all the stupid people out there. But yeah, Black Adam I think it'll be entertaining. It's Dwayne Johnson wants to flex a little darkness for a change, and he's good with a little bit of aggression. Like, I don't know if you ever watched Ballers, but he was he
was a heel on the WWF for quite a while. So yeah, so
WW, the World Wildlife Federation.
Yeah,
Foundation?
he was like murdering hippos.
He's fighting pandas.
WWE, I guess they call it. I'm an old school. There's no E, it's F.
It's an F.
Fuck you, ducks.
It'll be all right.
Yeah, we'll see. They got to walk a line. We'll see if they, as usual, they renege on the darkness part, right? They're like, this is the thing, how to do it really well is you've got to commit to the darkness before you show the light. And they don't, they've come to the idea that no audience is going to sympathize, even though we're surrounded by shit times. We're doing shit things ourselves to try to survive in this crazy collapsing society. But I guess maybe they're reacting to that and saying, "Oh, we have to show everything good. There can't be any gray area because everyone's just so sick of the gray area that we live in." So we'll have to see if they waffle on that part of the character, if they don't make them quite that dark.
Just remember, a bad guy is just a good guy who's not doing good things.
It's well said, Chad. Well said. And I'll just ask people not to be bad guys, and please donate to our Ko-Fi page. The link is in the description, and the company doesn't really charge a fee for the money. So anything you donate will be taken by us and spent on horrors and blow, or to make more content, depending on whether we're feeling good or bad about things. All right. Don't go changing into a bad guy.
I'm a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic...
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.